Act like I am arresting you and keep quiet," the immigration agent whispered to me at the airport. His words froze me. My hand was still holding the passport I had just handed him. The noise of the international airport faded away. It was just him and me, his gray eyes locked on mine with an intensity that made me understand something was terribly wrong. "What?" I managed to whisper. "Do not turn around. Do not make any gestures. Your life is in danger." His voice was barely audible, but every word was crystal clear. "Come with me, as if I were arresting you. Trust me. I am 55 years old. I built 3 companies from scratch. I have survived economic crises, unfair competition, and fraud attempts. I am not a man who gets scared easily." But in that moment, with the immigration agent looking at me with that absolute seriousness, I felt the ground moving beneath my feet. "Mr. Richard Miller," he said in a loud professional voice, "I need you to accompany me to the inspection office. There is an irregularity with your documentation." Behind me, I heard the voice of my son Andrew. "Dad, what is happening?" "Do not worry, sir," the agent replied without looking at me. "It is just a routine procedure. Wait in the boarding lounge, please." "But we—" "Wait in the lounge," the agent repeated firmly. I walked beside him, feeling the gazes of all the passengers in line. My son and my daughter-in-law, Ashley, stood there, watching me walk away, flanked by 2 security agents who had appeared out of nowhere. My heart was beating wildly. What was happening? Why did I feel like this was not a simple routine procedure? It has been 6 months since I lost my wife, Helen. Cancer. Fast, brutal, without mercy. One day we were planning our retirement. Trips we never took because I was always busy building the business. The next day, the doctors gave us 6 months. She only survived 4. Her last wish was for me to get closer to our son. Andrew is 30 years old. He has been married to Ashley for 3 years. Helen always felt that I had been too hard on him, too demanding, too absent. And she was right. "Promise me you are going to fix things with Andrew," she told me from her hospital bed, with that weak voice that broke my soul. "Promise me you will not leave him alone like I am going to leave you." I promised her. With tears running down my cheeks, I promised her. That is why I organized this trip. 2 weeks in Europe, Paris, Rome, Barcelona, the 3 of us together. A chance to get to know each other again, to build bridges, to honor Helen's memory by being the family she always wanted us to be. We had planned everything for months. The best hotels, exclusive restaurants, private tours. I did not skimp on anything. I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted to prove to Andrew that his father could be more than a businessman obsessed with work. And now, minutes away from boarding the flight, an immigration agent was telling me that my life was in danger. We entered a small, windowless office. The agent locked the door. There were 2 plastic chairs, a metal desk, and a computer screen on the wall. "Mr. Miller, my name is Federal Agent James Reynolds. I have to show you something, but I need you to stay calm." "What is going on?" My voice came out louder than I intended. "Why did you bring me here?" "Because we saved your life." Those words fell like stones in still water. The agent turned on the screen. A recording from the airport security cameras appeared. I recognized the check-in area where we had been 20 minutes ago. "Watch carefully," Reynolds said. On the screen, I saw Andrew and Ashley behind me in line. They looked normal, chatting casually. But then the agent fast-forwarded the recording to the moment I approached the immigration counter. "Look here," he pointed. I saw Ashley take something out of her purse. A small vial. She passed it discreetly to Andrew. He looked around, verifying that no one saw him. And then, my blood froze. My son uncapped my water bottle, the one I had left in my backpack while organizing my documents. The camera captured the exact moment he poured the contents of the vial into my water. Then he capped the bottle again and placed it exactly where it was. It all took less than 10 seconds. "No," I whispered. "It cannot be." "There is more," the agent said with a somber voice. He switched to another recording. This one was from the airport parking lot, 2 hours earlier. Andrew and Ashley were next to my SUV. She was handing him the vial. The agent turned up the volume. Although the audio was poor, some words were clear. "On the plane, 3 hours is enough. It will look natural. Heart attack. The properties remain in my name. The will. No one is going to suspect. Older man, recently widowed. Stress of the trip." The room spun around me. I sat heavily in the chair, feeling like I was running out of air. My son. My only son. The boy I held in my arms when he was born, the boy I taught to ride a bike, the young man for whom I paid for college, his master's degree, whom I helped start his first business. That same son had just tried to poison me. How? My voice cracked. How did you discover it? Pure chance, admitted Agent Reynolds. One of our behavior analysts was reviewing the cameras as part of a training exercise. He noticed the suspicious movement. He reported it. When we saw the full recording, we knew we had to act fast. And the vial? What was in the vial? Our forensics team recovered it from the trash can where your son threw it. They are analyzing it now, but based on the initial description. He paused. Mr. Miller, if you had drunk that water during the flight, you would not have arrived in Europe alive. I stared at the frozen screen. The image of my son, back to the camera, with my water bottle in his hand. The small vial tipped over the opening. Helen died 6 months ago, and my son could not even wait a year to inherit. Why? The question came out like a moan. I have a will. Everything is his, anyway. The companies, the properties, the accounts, everything. Why not wait? Agent Reynolds looked at me with something that looked like pity. Maybe he did not want to wait. Maybe he has debts you do not know about. Maybe, he stopped. Maybe greed simply has no logic. I remembered something Helen had told me months before she was diagnosed. We were having dinner, just the two of us. One of those rare nights when I was not working late. Andrew worries me, she had said suddenly. Why? I asked distractedly, checking my phone. I do not know. There is something in the way he talks about money, in the way Ashley looks at him, as if they were waiting for something. Waiting for what? For us to be gone. I had laughed. I had told her she was exaggerating, that she saw problems where there were none, that Andrew was our son, that he loved us. Helen did not insist, but now watching that recording, I remembered the sadness in her eyes that night. She had seen it. She had seen something that I, blinded by my work and my need to believe I had raised my son well, refused to see. Mr. Miller, the agent's voice brought me back to the present. We need you to make a decision. We can arrest them right now. We have enough evidence. The cameras, the vial, forensic analysis. They will go to prison for many years. And the other option? You can continue with the original plan. Board the plane as if nothing happened. But we will give you a new water bottle, uncontaminated, and we will have agents on the flight, watching, if they try anything else. Why would I do that? I interrupted him. Why not just arrest them and be done with it? Reynolds leaned forward. Because if we arrest them now, they are going to hire lawyers. Good lawyers that your money can pay for. They are going to say the evidence is manipulated, that it is a misunderstanding, that someone else could have touched that bottle, and maybe, just maybe, they find a way to get away with it, or receive a reduced sentence. And if I go on the trip, if you go on the trip, they are going to think their plan worked. They are going to lower their guard. They are going to make mistakes. And we will be documenting everything. When we finally arrest them, there will be no lawyer in the world who can defend them. I remained silent, processing. My businessman mind, trained to analyze complex situations and make difficult decisions, began to work. How much time do I have to decide? Your flight leaves in 45 minutes. I need an answer in 5. 5 minutes to decide if I wanted immediate justice or guaranteed justice. 5 minutes to decide if I still had the courage to look my son in the eyes, knowing he had just tried to kill me. I thought of Helen, of her grave still so recent that the fresh flowers wilted every week. I thought of all the times she defended me to Andrew, justified my absences, painted me as a hard-working hero to our son, and I thought of how that son had waited barely 6 months after her death to try to get rid of me. I am going to get on that plane, I said with a firm voice, and I am going to find out exactly who my son is. Agent Reynolds nodded slowly. I understand. It is your decision, but I need you to understand the risks. I understand them perfectly. I interrupted him. But you said you will have agents watching, correct? Correct. 2 undercover agents on the flight, 1 in first class, 1 in coach. They will be monitoring every move of your son and your daughter-in-law. Then I am safe. Physically, yes. Emotionally. Reynolds looked at me with compassion. That is another story. He was right. It was one thing to survive a poisoning attempt. Another, very different thing, was to sit next to your killer for a 14-hour flight, pretending you knew nothing. What are they going to say when I walk out of here? I asked. My son is going to ask questions. We will tell him there was an error with his entry visa for France, that it is already resolved. We took 15 minutes. It is enough time to be credible but not suspicious. And my water? The contaminated bottle is already in the lab. We will give you a new one, identical, sealed. They will not notice the difference. I stood up. My legs were trembling slightly, but I stayed firm. 55 years facing business challenges had taught me to control my emotions. Now I would have to use every ounce of that experience. One last thing, I said before the agent opened the door. When this is over, when you have all the evidence you need, I want to see them. I want to look them in the eyes and ask them why. I understand, and you will have that opportunity. We left the office. We walked back to the boarding area. I felt the gazes of the other passengers, curious to know what had happened with the man the agents took away. I saw Andrew and Ashley waiting near the boarding gate. When they saw me, Andrew got up quickly, with a worried expression. "Dad, are you okay? What happened?" That concern in his voice, that tone of a loving son. If I had not seen the recording, I would have believed he really cared. "Error with the entry visa for France," I said with a tired smile. "It is already resolved. Just ridiculous bureaucracy. What a scare you gave us," Ashley said, taking my arm with familiarity. "We thought they would cancel the trip." I looked into her eyes, light brown eyes, pretty, expressive, the same eyes that had been watching while she passed the vial of poison to my son. No, I replied. "Everything is fine. We can board." The agent who had accompanied me discreetly handed me a new water bottle. "Your documentation, Mr. Miller," he said aloud. "Excuse the inconvenience." I took the bottle, identical to the previous one, but this one was not going to kill me. Andrew took my backpack, helping me arrange it. "Let me, Dad. I will carry it. You rest." The perfect son, the model son-in-law, the ideal couple, and beneath that facade, two people who had planned my murder with the coldness of someone planning a vacation. We boarded the plane, first class, as I had paid for, 3 seats together. Me by the window, Andrew in the middle, Ashley on the aisle. "How do you feel, Dad?" Andrew asked once we were seated. "I know it has been a long day." "I am fine, son, just tired." "Do you want water?" "I think you have a bottle in your backpack." There it was, the casual invitation, the subtle push for me to drink the poison. "Yes, good idea," I said, taking out the new bottle the agent had given me. I saw how Andrew's eyes followed the bottle. I saw the quick exchange of looks between him and Ashley. Satisfaction. Relief. They thought it had worked. They thought their plan was in motion. I took a sip of the clean water, cold, refreshing, no strange taste, no poison. "Thanks for organizing this trip, Dad," Andrew said, putting his hand on mine. "It means a lot to us, to me, especially after Mom." He stopped, as if it were too painful to continue. I squeezed his hand. My son's hand, the hand that hours ago had poured poison into my water. "Your mom wanted us to do this," I said with a soft voice. "She wanted us to be a united family." "And we are," Andrew replied, smiling. "We are family. Always. Until I am dead, and you can keep everything," I thought, but I smiled back. "Always," I repeated. The plane began to move toward the runway. I looked out the window, watching Chicago getting smaller and smaller beneath us. Helen had asked me to get closer to our son, to fix our relationship, to be the family she always dreamed of. What irony! I had organized this trip to fulfill her last wish, and my son had seen it as the perfect opportunity to get rid of me. 2 weeks in Europe. 14 days pretending I knew nothing. 14 days acting like the loving father, the generous father-in-law, while every second documented the true nature of the people sitting next to me. I had built an empire from scratch. I had faced ruthless competitors, economic crises, betrayals by partners, but never had I faced something like this. Because it is one thing for a stranger to betray you. That hurts, but it is part of the game. But for your own blood, the son you held in your arms, to look you in the eyes while waiting for you to die, that is something completely different. The plane rose. We left dry land behind, and I prepared myself for the hardest performance of my life, pretending I did not know my son was waiting for me to die, pretending I still loved him, pretending we were still family, because somewhere on that plane, 2 federal agents were watching, documenting, waiting for the precise moment to act. and I was going to give them all the time they needed. Because when this ended, when the truth finally came to light, I did not want any doubt to remain. I wanted the whole world to know exactly who Andrew Miller was, and for him to pay for every second his mother and I spent building a life for him, a life he wanted to snatch from me ahead of time. The first 3 hours of the flight were silent torture. Andrew and Ashley acted with chilling normality. They chatted about the places we would visit in Paris, the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, Notre Dame. They talked about restaurants, about French wines, about hotels with spectacular views, and every so often, with that rehearsed subtlety, they asked me if I felt okay. "Dad, you look a little pale. Are you sure you do not want to rest? Richard, does anything hurt? Your head? Your chest? Have you drunk enough water? It is important to stay hydrated on flights." Every question was a dagger, because I knew exactly what they were looking for. They were waiting for the first symptoms, the moment the poison started to take effect. I answered calmly, with reassuring smiles. I assured them I felt perfectly fine, and every time I did, I saw a flash of confusion in their eyes. Why was I still so healthy? Why was the poison not working? At some point, Andrew went to the bathroom. When he returned, I intercepted a look between him and Ashley, a look loaded with unspoken questions. She made an almost imperceptible gesture with her head, as if saying, "Give it time." I leaned back in my seat, pretending to fall asleep, but through my half-open eyelids, I watched them. Ashley took out her phone. She typed something. Then she showed it to Andrew, covering the screen with her hand so I could not see. He read, frowned, and typed a response. They were communicating silently, coordinating, planning their next move. For 30 years, I built successful companies because I learned to read people, to detect lies in negotiations, to identify betrayals before they happened. Those skills had made me rich. Now, those same skills were keeping me alive. I remembered something my oldest partner, Mr. Harrison, a 70-year-old man with 50 years of business experience, had taught me. Richard, when someone betrays you, they are giving you a gift. They are showing you who they really are, and that information is worth more than all the money in the world. He was right. Andrew and Ashley had given me the most valuable gift, the truth. I opened my eyes slowly, as if I had just woken up from a nap. "How long did I sleep?" "Like 40 minutes, Dad," Andrew replied. "Did you rest?" "A little. These seats are comfortable." "Dad, there is something I wanted to mention to you." Andrew leaned toward me, lowering his voice, as if it were an intimate conversation. "Ashley and I have been thinking. After Mom passed away, you have been carrying all the weight of the companies alone. It has to be exhausting." "It is part of the job," I replied, without knowing where he was going with this. "Yes, but it does not have to be that way. I studied administration. I worked in one of your companies for 3 years. I know the business. Maybe it is time for you to, well, give me more responsibilities. For you to start delegating important things to me." There it was. The real plan behind the plan. If I died on the plane, he would inherit everything immediately. But if for some reason the poison did not work, they had a plan B. Convince me to give them control of the companies while I was still alive. "More responsibilities?" I asked, keeping myself neutral. "Exactly. We could start by transferring some properties to my name. You know, for tax questions, to avoid problems with the IRS. You could also give me power of attorney over some of the main bank accounts. That way, if something happens to you, God forbid, everything would be in order and there would be no legal complications." Ashley joined in immediately. "It makes sense, Richard. You have worked so hard all your life. You deserve to rest a little. Let Andrew handle things while you enjoy your golden years." Golden years that you want to end as soon as possible, I thought. "It is an interesting idea," I said slowly, as if I were really considering it. "Let me think about it during the trip. Maybe when we return to the States, we can sit down with the lawyers and see what makes sense." I saw the satisfaction on their faces. They thought they had planted the seed, that their plan B was working. "There is no rush, Dad. We just wanted you to know that I am ready, that you can count on me, like Helen counted on you taking care of me after her death," I thought bitterly. The following hours passed in a surreal haze. We ate the plain dinner. Andrew ordered wine for the 3 of us. We toasted to the trip, to family, to new beginnings. Every toast was a lie. Every smile, a mask. At some point in the early morning, when the cabin was dark and most passengers were sleeping, I felt someone watching me. I opened my eyes discreetly and saw one of the undercover federal agents. He was a man of about 40, dressed like a common tourist, seated 3 rows ahead, but with a direct line of sight to us. Our gazes met for a second. He nodded almost imperceptibly. The message was clear. We are here. You are safe. I closed my eyes again, feeling a strange mix of relief and pain. I was physically safe, yes, but emotionally I was being torn apart piece by piece, because every minute I spent on that plane, every fake conversation, every gesture of feigned affection was a reminder that my son wanted me dead. I thought about all the important moments of his life. His first day of school, his high school graduation, his wedding to Ashley 3 years ago, where I paid for every detail of a ceremony that cost more than what many people earn in a year. At that wedding, Andrew had hugged me and told me, "Thanks for everything, Dad, for giving me a life I never imagined, for being the best father in the world." At what moment did those words turn into lies? Or were they always lies? Helen was always more perceptive than me in emotional matters. I focused on providing, on building, on ensuring we never lacked anything. She focused on the small details, on the looks, on what was not said. I remembered another conversation, this time a year before her diagnosis. We were in bed, she reading a book, me reviewing financial reports on my laptop. "Ashley asked me today how many properties we have," Helen had said suddenly. "Why?" I asked without looking up from the numbers. "I do not know." She said she was just curious, but it was strange, very specific. She wanted to know how many houses, how many rental apartments, how much land. Maybe she is just making conversation. "Richard!" Helen closed her book. "Look at me." I looked up. She had that expression I knew well, the one that meant, "This is important. Pay attention." "That girl is not making conversation," she continued. "She is taking inventory." Inventory. Yes, she is calculating exactly how much our family is worth, and I do not like it. I had told her she was exaggerating, that Ashley came from a humble family, and it was natural for her to be curious about a different lifestyle, that she did not have to be so suspicious. Helen had not insisted further, but now, remembering that conversation, I realized she had seen the truth I refused to accept. Ashley never loved Andrew. She loved what Andrew represented, access to a fortune. And Andrew, my son, had been weak enough to let himself be manipulated. Or maybe ambitious enough to participate willingly. I did not know which of the two options was worse. The plane began its descent toward Paris. The city lights shone below like a sea of stars. Normally this would be an exciting moment. My first trip to Europe in 10 years. A chance to disconnect from work, to enjoy life. Instead, I felt like I was descending into a 2-week nightmare. "Look, Dad," Andrew pointed out the window. "It is beautiful, right? Beautiful," I repeated without feeling anything. We landed at 7 in the morning, Paris time. Charles de Gaulle Airport was full of travelers, the organized chaos of thousands of people moving with purpose. While we waited for our luggage, Ashley went to the bathroom. Andrew and I were left alone for the first time since I had discovered his betrayal. "Dad, there is something I want to tell you." He started looking toward where Ashley had disappeared. "I know you and Mom always thought maybe Ashley was not the right person for me. That took me by surprise. We never said that. Not with words, but I felt it, in the way Mom looked at her, in how you were always a little distant with her." "Andrew, no, let me finish." He raised a hand. "I want you to know that I love her, and I know she loves me, and I know that together we are going to make you feel proud. We are going to take care of you, Dad, especially now that Mom is gone." He looked at me with sincere eyes, eyes I had watched grow since he was a baby, eyes that now I knew hid a stranger. "I know you are going to take care of me, son," I said, and in that moment I was not acting. The pain in my voice was completely real. "I have always known I can count on you." He hugged me. A tight hug, one of those he used to give me when he was a child after I returned from long business trips. I returned the hug, feeling something inside me break definitively. This was my son, the person who was supposed to protect me, care for me, honor me, and instead, he had planned my murder with the coldness of someone planning a business trip. Ashley returned from the bathroom. We collected our luggage. We left the airport toward the taxi that would take us to the hotel. Paris was exactly like the postcards. Historic buildings, cobblestone streets, cafes on every corner. The Eiffel Tower rose in the distance, majestic. "It is incredible," sighed Ashley, looking out the taxi window. "I always dreamed of coming here." "Well, now you are here," I said, "thanks to this trip. Thanks to you, Richard. You made this possible, and you wanted to thank me by killing me," I thought. The hotel was 5 stars, located in the 7th arrondissement, steps from the Eiffel Tower. I had reserved 2 suites, one for me, another for Andrew and Ashley. When we entered the lobby, a man in a suit approached me discreetly. "Mr. Miller?" he asked in English with a French accent. "Yes, welcome to Paris. I am Gerard, the hotel manager. If you need anything during your stay, do not hesitate to call me directly." He handed me a business card, but when I took it, he added in a very low voice, "I am also part of the team protecting you. Agent Reynolds coordinated everything with us. You are safe here." I nodded slightly. Another guard in my strange luxury prison. We went up to our rooms. Mine was spectacular. Huge windows with a view of the Eiffel Tower, king-size bed, marble bathroom that was bigger than the first apartment Helen and I shared when we were newlyweds. I sat on the bed, looking out the window. Paris stretched out before me, full of promises of adventure and discovery. But I felt no emotion, only tiredness, a deep tiredness that went beyond the physical. The room phone rang. It was Andrew. "Dad, do you want us to rest a while and then go down to eat something? Or, if you prefer, we can start the tour immediately." "Let's rest first," I replied. It was a long flight. Perfect. "See you in the lobby at 2 in the afternoon then." I hung up. It was 9 in the morning. I had 5 hours before having to act again. I took off my shoes, lay on the bed, and, for the first time since the immigration agent had whispered those words to me at the airport, I let the tears flow. I cried for Helen, for not having listened to her when she warned me about Andrew and Ashley. I cried for my son, for the boy he was and the man he became, and I cried for myself, for the old fool who had worked all his life building an empire for his family, without realizing that his family was only waiting for him to die to claim it. There must be something deeply broken in a father who raises a son capable of murder. There must be something I did wrong, something I did not teach him, some value I failed to instill. Was it because I worked too much? Because I was absent during important moments? Because I gave him too much money? Too much comfort? Too easy? I had no answers. I only had questions that tortured me. The room phone rang again. I ignored it. It rang 3 more times before I finally answered. "Mr. Miller?" It was Gerard, the manager. "Excuse the intrusion. I just wanted to inform you that your son came down a moment ago to the reception. He asked some questions about you." "What kind of questions?" "He asked if we had a doctor available. He said you have a history of heart problems and wanted to make sure that, in case of emergency, we knew who to call." My blood froze. "I do not have any history of heart problems." "I know, sir. That is why I am calling you. Your son is setting the stage. When you—" He paused. "When they expect something to happen to you, they want the hotel staff to already have in mind that you had heart problems. That way it will look natural." "What did you tell him?" "Nothing specific. I just appreciated the information and assured we would have everything prepared. But I wanted you to know." "Thanks, Gerard." I hung up, feeling rage beginning to replace sadness. They did not just want me dead. They wanted my death to look natural. They wanted to cry at my funeral, receive condolences, inherit my fortune, and for no one to ever suspect they had orchestrated everything. And they probably would have succeeded, if not for a behavior analyst training at the airport, if not for that stroke of luck that exposed their plan. I got out of bed, washed my face, looked in the mirror. The man looking back at me looked tired. 55 years, that suddenly looked like 70. Deep, dark circles. Wrinkles I did not remember having. But in those eyes, I also saw something else. Determination. Because if Andrew and Ashley thought they were going to get away with it, if they thought they could murder me and live happily with my money, they were very wrong. I had built an empire from scratch. I had survived economic recessions, ruthless competitors, fraud attempts. I was not going to let my own son destroy me. During the next 2 weeks, I was going to give them enough rope to hang themselves. I was going to document every move, every lie, every manipulation attempt. And when it was all over, when the federal agents had enough evidence to guarantee they would never get out of prison, then I would have my answer. Then I would ask them why. And this time I would not accept lies. I dressed in clean clothes, combed my hair, put on cologne. I prepared to go out and face my killers with a smile, because that is what a successful businessman does. Adapt to impossible situations. And this was the most important negotiation of my life. Not for money, not for power, for justice. And for the memory of Helen, who had warned me and whom I did not listen to. This time, I was going to listen. This time I was going to act. And this time the truth was going to prevail, no matter how much it hurt me. At 2 o'clock sharp, I went down to the hotel lobby. Andrew and Ashley were already waiting, dressed like perfect tourists, her with a floral dress and a camera hanging from her neck, him with jeans and a polo shirt, sunglasses on his head, the ideal couple, the perfect heirs, the patient killers. Dad, Andrew approached with energy. Did you rest well? Like a baby, I lied. Ready to see Paris? More than ready, Ashley replied enthusiastically. I booked a private tour. They are going to take us to all the main places. We spent the rest of the day being tourists. The Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe, the Champs, Élysée. Ashley took photos constantly. Photos of her and Andrew kissing in front of monuments. Photos of the three of us together, smiling like a happy family. Evidence for later, for when I was dead and they wanted to show the world how close we were, how sudden and unexpected my death was. During dinner at a restaurant overlooking the Seine, Andrew raised his glass of wine. For Mom, he said with an emotional voice. Wherever she is, I know she is happy to see us here together. For Helen, I repeated, feeling my wife's name like a dagger in the heart. We toasted, the candlelight reflected in our glasses. A beautiful moment, worthy of a postcard, except everything was a lie. Dad, I wanted to ask you something, Andrew said after ordering dessert. Have you thought about what we talked about on the plane, about giving me more responsibilities in the companies? I have thought about that, I replied, measuring my words. But they are important decisions. I do not want to rush. I saw a flash of frustration cross his face before he could control it. Of course, there is no rush. I just thought that since we are here relaxed, we could discuss it calmly. Andrew is right, Ashley added. It would be good to have a clear plan, especially considering your health. My health? I asked with a neutral tone. Well, you have been under a lot of stress. My mother-in-law's death, managing the companies alone. This trip, she touched my hand with fake concern. We just want to make sure that if something happens, God forbid, everything is in order. There it was again, preparing the ground, planting the seed that I was sick, stressed, about to collapse. I appreciate your concern, I said, but I feel perfectly fine, better than I have felt in months, actually. The two exchanged another one of those meaningful looks. That night, back in my room, I received a call from an unknown number. Mr. Miller. It was a female voice I did not recognize. I am Agent Flores. I work with Agent Reynolds. Can you speak freely? Yes. I am alone. Excellent. I just wanted to update you. We have been monitoring all communications of your son and daughter-in-law. Last night, while you slept on the plane, she sent an encrypted message to a contact in Mexico. What did it say? It didn't work. Need Plan B. 2 weeks to fix it. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of those words. Plan B is convincing me to transfer control of the companies to them before the trip ends. Correct. And we have reasons to believe they are also exploring other options more direct. What does that mean? It means we must be extremely careful during the next 2 weeks. Do not eat or drink anything they give you directly. Do not stay alone with them in isolated places. And if at any moment you feel you are in immediate danger, call this number. She gave me a phone number that I memorized immediately. How much more time do you need to have enough evidence? Ideally, we want to catch them in the act of a second attempt. The poison at the airport is strong, but a good lawyer could argue it was planted, that the cameras are manipulated, that your son is innocent. But if they try something else, if we document a pattern of behavior, then there is no doubt. I finished for her. Exactly. I know it is a lot to ask, Mr. Miller, but we need you to hold on a little longer. After hanging up, I sat on the balcony of my room, watching the lights of Paris. The Eiffel Tower shone in the distance, lighting up every hour with thousands of little lights that made it look magical. I remembered when I promised Helen I would bring her here someday. When I have time, I always told her. When the business is more stable, when I can take a few weeks off. That moment never arrived. There was always something more important. A meeting, a contract, a crisis to solve. And now I was here, in the city she dreamed of visiting, accompanied by the son she adored and who had planned my murder. Life has a cruel way of teaching us our mistakes. The following days followed a similar pattern. We visited museums, walked through Montmartre, ate in elegant restaurants, and all the while, Andrew and Ashley maintained their perfect performance. But I had learned to read the signs. The moments when Ashley wrote messages on her phone and hid it quickly when I approached. The conversations that ended abruptly when I entered a room. The looks they exchanged when they thought I was not watching. The fourth day in Paris, Andrew suggested we do something different. "There is a place on the outskirts of the city," he said during breakfast. "An old castle, very little known by tourists. I thought we could rent a car and go just the three of us alone. No tours, no crowds, just us." Every alarm in my head went off. "Sounds interesting," I said cautiously. "How far is it?" "Like an hour and a half by car. It is a beautiful road, passing through French villages. It would be an adventure." "I do not know, son. Driving in another country, on roads we do not know." "I will drive," he offered quickly. "You and Ashley relax and enjoy the scenery." "It is going to be incredible, Dad, I promise." Ashley nodded enthusiastically. "It would be nice to have a day just for us, more intimate, like a real family." My mind worked quickly. An isolated place, far from witnesses, no security cameras. The perfect setting for an accident. "Let me think about it," I said. "Maybe tomorrow. Today I would like to stay in the city." I saw the frustration on their faces, but they nodded, smiling. "Sure, Dad. Whatever you say." That afternoon, while Andrew and Ashley went shopping, I met secretly with Gerard in a private office of the hotel. "Your son booked a car for tomorrow," he informed me. "A large sedan." He also asked about scenic routes outside Paris, specifically places far from the main tourist zones. "Can you follow us without them noticing? We already have it arranged. There will be 2 tracking vehicles, one close and another at a distance. We also installed a GPS tracking device in the car they rented, and I am going to give you this." He handed me a small device the size of a keychain. "If you press this button twice, it sends an immediate emergency signal. We will have agents at your location in minutes. And if there is no cell coverage, this device uses satellite. It works anywhere." I put it in my pocket, feeling its weight like a talisman of protection. That night I could not sleep. I stayed awake imagining scenarios. What would they do? Would they simulate a car accident? Would they push me off a cliff and say I lost my balance? Poison again. This time without witnesses to interrupt. My son. My own blood. Planning the details of my death with the same casualness with which most people plan their vacation. At 3 in the morning, my phone vibrated. It was a message from an unknown number. "Intercepted new communication," Ashley wrote. "Tomorrow at the castle. Perfect place. No one will see us. Just do it fast. Stay alert. Do not go anywhere alone with them." I deleted the message. I got up, poured myself a whiskey from the minibar, and sat by the window. Paris slept below. City of lights. City of love. City where my son planned to become an orphan. There is a moment in the life of every father when he realizes his son is no longer a child, that he has become his own person, with his own decisions, his own consequences. I had that moment years ago, when Andrew graduated from college and decided to start working with me. I felt proud then. I thought we would finally have something in common, that we could build together. But I had been wrong. Andrew never wanted to build with me. He only wanted to wait for me to build everything for him. The next morning arrived too fast. I went down to breakfast and found Andrew and Ashley already ready, with backpacks prepared and energy like kids on a field trip. "Dad, we thought you had changed your mind about the castle," Andrew said. "No, I just slept badly. But I am ready. Let's go." The car was a new Mercedes. Andrew sat behind the wheel, Ashley as co-pilot, me in the back, like a child, like someone without control of his own destiny. We left Paris on increasingly smaller roads. Buildings gave way to green fields, villages with stone houses, ancient churches. It was beautiful. I had to admit it. It was also isolated, perfect for what they had planned. "How about we stop there?" Ashley pointed toward a lookout with a view of a valley. "We could take photos." Andrew parked. We got out of the car. The wind blew hard, bringing the smell of wet earth and wildflowers. The lookout had a metal railing, old and rusty. Beyond, a cliff about 100 feet high. Ashley started taking photos. Andrew stood next to me at the railing. "It is incredible, right?" he said. The view. Incredible. I repeated, with every muscle in my body tense. Dad, I want you to know something. His voice changed, became more serious. These days with you have been important to me. After Mom died, I felt like I was losing you too. But this trip made me realize how much I need you in my life. The right words, the perfect tone. If I did not know the truth, I would have been moved to tears. I need you too, son, I said, and I was not acting. Despite everything, despite the betrayal, part of me still wanted to believe there was some goodness in him. Come, stand here. He guided me closer to the edge. Ashley, take a picture of us here. She raised the camera. I was at the edge of the cliff, Andrew behind me. A push, that is all it would take. A quick push, and I would fall 100 feet. Broken bones, head trauma, almost instant death. And they would cry at my funeral, telling the tragic story of how their father lost his balance while taking a family photo. Smile, Richard, said Ashley. In that moment, I felt Andrew's hands on my back, not pushing, just touching, positioning me. A little more to the left, he indicated. I took a step. My heels were inches from the edge. Perfect, said Ashley. On the count of 3, 1, 2, time slowed down. I felt Andrew's hands pressing slightly. I saw Ashley lowering the camera, her eyes shining with something that was not amusement, and in that second I understood what was going to happen. My hand went to my pocket, touching the emergency device Gerard had given me. 3, said Ashley. Andrew's hands tensed on my back, and then I heard a noise, the unmistakable sound of a car approaching at full speed. Andrew's hands pulled away immediately. I took a step forward, away from the edge, with my heart beating like a war drum. A French police car appeared on the road. 2 officers got out, walking toward us with serious expressions. Bonjour, greeted one of them. Excuse the intrusion. We are doing security checks in the area. Could you show us your IDs? Andrew and Ashley looked at each other. Confusion mixed with fear? Sure, officer, I said, taking out my passport with hands that trembled slightly. The police checked our documents with professional calm, but I saw how one of them looked at me with meaning. Another undercover agent. Everything is in order, he finally said, returning our passports. Enjoy your visit to France, and please, be careful near the cliff. We have had several accidents here in the last few years. The message was clear. We saw everything. We are here. The police left. Andrew and Ashley seemed nervous. How strange, murmured Ashley. Security checks in the middle of nowhere. They must be looking for someone, said Andrew, but his voice sounded tense. Better continue to the castle. The rest of the day passed without further incidents. We visited the castle. We ate at a restaurant in the nearby village, returned to Paris at sunset. But something had changed. Andrew and Ashley were quieter, more cautious, as if they knew someone was watching them. That night I received another call from Agent Flores. It was close today, she said without preamble. Very close. If our officers had not arrived at that exact moment. I know, Mr. Miller, we have to consider the possibility of ending this now. Arrest them before they make another attempt. Do you have enough evidence? Silence on the other end. Not as much as we would like. Their lawyers could argue that the moment at the lookout was innocent. What? They were just positioning you for a photo? We do not have definitive proof of intent. Then we continue, I said with a firm voice. Until you have it, Mr. Miller. Agent Flores, I have built my life making difficult decisions. This is just one more. I need this to be resolved once and for all. Without doubts, without possibility of them escaping on legal technicalities. I understand. But please be extremely careful. We do not know what they are going to try next. After hanging up, I poured myself another whiskey. My hands no longer trembled. Instead, I felt a strange calm, because I had finally understood something important. I had the control. Andrew and Ashley thought they were hunting. They thought I was the defenseless prey, but they were wrong. I was the one leading them exactly where I wanted. I was the one documenting every lie, every attempt, every moment of their betrayal. And when all this was over, when they were sitting in a cell wondering how it all went so wrong, they would understand the truth. You were never the hunter, son. You were just a fool with a plan that never had a chance to work. Because your father did not build an empire being stupid, and I was not going to start now. The following days were a macabre dance of feigned normality. We went to Versailles. We walked through the palace gardens. We took photos in front of the fountains. We ate pastries in cafes with 3 centuries of history. Any outside observer would have seen a happy family enjoying a dream vacation. But I knew the truth. Every smile was a lie. Every hug, a betrayal. Every "I love you, Dad" that came out of Andrew's mouth was a dagger wrapped in velvet. The 7th day in Paris, something changed. We were having dinner at a restaurant near Notre Dame when Andrew received a call. He apologized and went out to answer. He returned 5 minutes later with a pale face. "What happened?" asked Ashley with a worried tone, which sounded genuine for the first time. "It was my partner in Mexico. There are problems with one of the businesses I am managing. I need to resolve some things urgently." "What kind of problems?" I asked. "Nothing serious, Dad. Just administrative issues. But I need to make some calls, review documents. Do you mind if Ashley and I skip the tour tomorrow? I need to be in the room working." "Sure, son. Business is important." That night, after everyone retired to their room, I received another update from Agent Flores. "We know what call your son received," she told me. It was not his partner. It was someone from a law firm in Mexico. Apparently, Andrew and Ashley have massive debts you do not know about. How massive? Near 8 million pesos. Loans with criminal interest rates. That is about $400,000. It seems they invested in a business that failed completely. The lenders are threatening legal action. Everything started to make sense. It was not just greed, it was desperation. "That is why they need the money now," I murmured. "They cannot wait for me to die naturally in 20 or 30 years. "Exactly. And we have evidence that Ashley was researching undetectable poisons on the internet, how to simulate heart attacks, inheritance, and wills, all from her personal phone." "Is that enough to arrest them?" "Almost. We just need one last element. We need to catch them in the act of another attempt, or we need them to confess." "Confess?" "They never will. Not voluntarily. But if you can provoke them, make them speak while wearing a hidden microphone, then we would have everything we need." I remained silent, processing the proposal. "You want me to confront my son? Force him to admit he is trying to kill me?" "I know it is a lot to ask, but it is the safest way to guarantee a conviction without possibility of appeal. A confession recorded in his own voice, explaining his motives and methods. And if he gets violent, we will have agents meters away. At the first sign of physical danger, we intervene. But we need him to speak first." I spent the rest of the night sleepless, preparing myself mentally for what I would have to do. The next day, Andrew and Ashley said they would be busy all morning with work calls. It was the perfect opportunity. But first, I needed to know more about those debts. I called my accountant in the States, Rodrigo, a man who had worked with me for 15 years. "Mr. Miller, what a pleasure to hear you. How was the trip?" "Good, Rodrigo, but I need you to investigate something for me, discreetly. Whatever you need. Check my son's finances. Everything. Bank accounts, credit cards, loans, investments, everything you can find. Is there a problem? Just do it. And send me the full report before noon." 3 hours later, I had the report in my email. I read it in my room, feeling the rage growing with every page. Andrew and Ashley did not just owe $400,000. They owed almost $800,000 to different lenders, some legitimate, others clearly connected to criminal organizations. They had invested in a cryptocurrency business that turned out to be a scam. They lost everything in 6 months. Then, trying to recover, they asked for more loans to invest in another scheme, which also failed. And during all that time, while they sank deeper and deeper into debt, they lived a luxury lifestyle. Trips, expensive restaurants, designer clothes, all charged to credit cards they could no longer pay. The report included copies of text messages from the lenders, increasingly severe threats. "You have until the end of the month or there will be consequences. We know your family. It would be a shame if something happened to them." My son was not just trying to kill me out of greed. He was trying to kill me to save himself. That afternoon, while Andrew and Ashley remained locked in their room, I met with the team of federal agents in a different suite of the hotel. Agent Flores was a woman of about 40, short hair, intelligent eyes. She showed me the equipment I would use. "It is a practically invisible microphone," she explained, sticking it under my shirt. "It transmits in real time. We will hear everything and be ready to intervene if necessary." "How do I provoke him to speak?" "Tell him you know about the debts, that you discovered everything. see him get nervous. Nervous people make mistakes, say things they shouldn't. If you can make him feel cornered, if you can make Ashley and him think their only escape is to be honest with you, then they will talk. And if it doesn't work, then we arrest with the evidence we have and hope for the best. But it won't be a guaranteed conviction. I looked in the mirror. A 55-year-old man with a hidden microphone, preparing to confront his killer son. How had my life reached this point? At 7 in the evening, I knocked on the door of Andrew and Ashley's suite. He opened, surprised to see me. "Dad, everything okay? I need to talk to you, with both of you. It is important." Ashley appeared behind him, with a cautious expression. "Sure, Dad. Come in." I entered. The suite was identical to mine, but messier. Clothes thrown around, documents scattered on the table, open laptops. I sat on the sofa. They sat in front of me. I could feel the tension in the air. "What's wrong?" Andrew asked. "You look serious?" "We have to talk about money," I said directly, "specifically about your debts." I saw him go pale. Ashley went rigid. "My debts? I don't know what." "Don't lie to me," I interrupted him with a cold voice. "I know everything, Andrew. The loans, the failed investments, the $800,000 you owe, everything." Deadly silence. I could hear my own heart beating. "Dad, I was going to tell you." "When? When were you going to tell me? After I was dead and you could pay your debts with my inheritance?" Ashley stood up abruptly. "I don't know what you are insinuating, but—" "Sit down," I ordered with an authority I didn't know I still had. "Both of you, sit down and let me speak." They sat down. Andrew had tears in his eyes. Were they real or acted? "I know you are in trouble," I continued. "I know the lenders are threatening you. I know you thought the only way out was my death." "No." Andrew jumped up. "Dad, never. I would never think." "The poison at the airport?" I said the words like bombs. "I saw everything, Andrew. The security cameras captured it, pouring something into my water bottle, something that was designed to kill me." The color completely disappeared from his face. Ashley opened her mouth, but no sound came out. "I also know about the attempt at the lookout," I continued, positioning me on the edge of the cliff, waiting for the perfect moment to push. "If those police officers hadn't appeared—" "Dad, please, you have to understand." Andrew's voice broke completely. I didn't know what else to do. "The lenders said they were going to hurt Ashley. They said they knew where we lived, that they knew our routines. I was so scared. And your solution was to kill me?" "It wasn't to kill you," he shouted. "It was just to make you sleep on the plane, so that when we landed, you felt bad and we had to hospitalize you. We thought if you were in the hospital, if the doctors said you had heart problems, you might decide to transfer control of some things to me, to avoid stress. It wasn't real poison, just strong sedatives." "Lie," I said firmly. "The analysis showed exactly what it was. And in the dose you put, I would have died on that plane." Real tears now ran down Andrew's face. He dropped to his knees in front of me. "Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was desperate. I wasn't thinking clearly. Ashley and we were terrified. The lenders are not normal people, Dad. They are criminals. They said they would give us until the end of the month or what? They would kill you?" My voice was pure ice. "So you decided it was better if they killed me?" "No. It wasn't like that. I needed time. I needed money fast. And I thought if something happened to you, if I died, you inherited everything and could pay your debts." Silence. A silence that was worth more than 1,000 confessions. Ashley finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "It was my idea. It was all my idea. Andrew didn't want to, but I convinced him. I told him it was the only way. That you were already old, that anyway I was going to die soon. I finished for her. That what did a few years matter? More or less." She started crying too, but I felt no compassion. "Do you know what is saddest about all this?" I asked. "It isn't that you tried to kill me. It is that you didn't even have the courage to be honest with me. If Andrew had come and told me, 'Dad, I'm in trouble. I made mistakes. I need help,' I would have helped him. I would have paid every penny of those debts. I would have protected my son." "Dad." Andrew reached his hand toward me. "But instead of trusting me, you decided it was easier to kill me. You decided my life was worth less than your debts. And that, son, that is something I will never be able to forgive. Please, begged Andrew, give me a chance. I can change. I can fix this. Just don't hand me over to the police. Please, Dad. I am your son. Your only son. You are my son. I nodded, and that is precisely the reason why this hurts so much. I got up from the sofa. The two looked at me from the floor, broken, waiting for my verdict. You have two options, I said with a firm voice. First option, call the police right now. With the confession you just made, with all the gathered evidence, you will spend decades in prison. Both of you. Ashley sobbed louder. What is the second option? Andrew asked with a broken voice. The second option is that tomorrow morning, early, you go back to the States. I am going to give you enough money to pay all your debts. Every dollar. The lenders will leave you alone. I saw hope shine in their eyes. But I continued. You never contact me again. You never speak to me again. You never see me again. For practical purposes, I no longer have a son, and you no longer have a father. Dad, no. And if you ever try something against me again, if you threaten me, if you look for me, if you try to claim inheritance after my death, all the evidence I have goes straight to the police. Understood? Is that all? Ashley asked incredulously. Are you going to let us go like that? No, out of kindness, I clarified. I do it for Helen's memory. She made me promise I would take care of Andrew, and this, as much as it hurts me, is the only way I found to keep that promise without betraying my own dignity. I accept, said Andrew immediately. I accept, Dad, whatever you say. Tomorrow at 6 in the morning you will have the plane tickets in your email. At 7, a bank transfer of $800,000. It is more than enough to cover your debts and start over. What you do with your lives after that is no longer my problem. And the punishment? Ashley asked with a trembling voice. There is no punishment. I looked her directly in the eyes. The punishment is that you are going to live the rest of your lives knowing you tried to murder the man who loved you, that you destroyed a family for debts that could have been resolved with an honest conversation. That, Ashley, is a punishment worse than any prison. I walked toward the door. Andrew crawled behind me, grabbing my leg. Dad, please, don't leave me like this. I can't live without you. You are all I have. I stopped. I looked at him from above. My son, on his knees, begging. You should have thought about that before putting poison in my water. I opened the door and left. The last sounds I heard were Andrew's sobs screaming, Forgive me, please, Dad, forgive me. I closed the door. In the hallway, Agent Flores was waiting for me with 2 other officers. We recorded everything, she said. Full confession, motives, methods, everything. It is more than enough to arrest them right now. No, I said firmly. I am going to keep my word. I am going to give them the money and I am going to let them go. Mr. Miller, they tried to murder you. Multiple times. I know, but they are the consequences I choose to give them. And believe me, living with what they did is worse than any prison. The agent looked at me for a long time. Finally, she nodded. It is your decision, but we will keep the file open. If you ever need it. If they break the agreement, then arrest them with the full weight of the law. But until then, this ends here. That night, I slept deeply for the first time in 2 weeks. A part of my nightmare was over. The next morning, at 6 o'clock, I knocked on the door of their suite. Andrew opened with red and swollen eyes. Behind him, the suitcases were already packed. The taxi is waiting for you downstairs, I said. The tickets are in your email. The money will arrive in your account in an hour. Dad, No, I interrupted him. There is nothing more to say. Live your lives. Be better people, but do it far from me. Ashley appeared behind him. She looked at me with eyes full of tears. I'm sorry, she whispered, for everything. Me too, I replied. I am sorry things have come to this. I watched them take their suitcases. I accompanied them to the elevator. When the doors opened, Andrew turned one last time. Will you ever be able to forgive me? I thought of Helen, of her last words. Take care of our son. Maybe, I said finally. But not today, and probably not tomorrow either. If that day comes, I will let you know. The elevator doors closed, and just like that, my son disappeared from my life. I returned to my suite. I sat on the balcony, watching the sunrise over Paris. The city woke up slowly, full of promises of new beginnings. My phone rang. It was Audrey, my daughter from San Francisco. "Dad?" I saw that Andrew posted something strange on social media, saying he was returning to the US early. "Is everything okay?" "Everything is fine, honey," I replied, and for the first time in weeks it was true. Just some necessary changes. Changes? I will explain when I return. But for now, I just want you to know that I love you very much, and that I appreciate that you have always been honest with me. I love you too, Dad, and I miss you. Hurry back. After hanging up, I stared at the Eiffel Tower in the distance. Helen and I had dreamed of coming here together. That dream was never fulfilled. But maybe I could create new dreams, with Audrey, with her children, with the people who really valued me. I passed the next 7 days alone in Paris, and I discovered something surprising. I enjoyed every moment. I visited museums without having to pretend interest in fake conversations. I ate in restaurants without having to watch my drink. I walked through Montmartre without feeling expectant eyes waiting for my death. And slowly, very slowly, I began to heal. One afternoon, sitting in a cafe near the Seine, I wrote a letter. Not to send it, just to process my thoughts. "Dear Helen, I kept my promise to take care of Andrew, but not in the way you expected. I saved him from prison. I gave him money to get out of his problems, but I also had to let him go. I hope you understand me. I hope that wherever you are, you know I made the right decision. Because loving someone sometimes means letting them face the consequences of their actions. I miss you every day, but I am learning to live again. Not just to survive, but to live. Until we see each other again. Your husband, Richard." I folded the letter and put it in my wallet. Maybe someday I would bury it next to her grave, or maybe I would burn it in some liberation ritual. For now, I just needed it to exist. I returned to the States 2 weeks later, as planned. Audrey picked me up at the airport with her 2 kids. The kids ran toward me, screaming, "Grandpa!" And in that moment I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. "How was Paris?" asked Audrey while driving toward my house. "Revealing," I replied. "In many ways I never imagined." She looked at me sideways. "Andrew doesn't want to talk to me. He says there was a problem between you, but he doesn't give me details." "What happened, Dad?" "Someday I will tell you everything. But not today. Today I just want to get home, hug my grandkids, and start over. 6 months have passed since Paris. 6 months in which I have had no contact with Andrew. According to his bank account, which I still monitored discreetly, he paid all his debts and moved to another city with Ashley. I don't know if they are happy. I don't know if they learned anything from all this. I will probably never know. But I have learned something important. That family is not defined by blood. It is defined by loyalty, respect, genuine love. Audrey and her kids come to visit me every week. I have dinner with them. I play with the kids. I listen to their stories. It is a simpler life than the one I had, but infinitely richer. I also started making changes to my will. The majority of my fortune will go to Audrey, another part to charities, and a small part, will remain in a trust for Andrew, not because he deserves it, but because his mother would have asked me. But that trust will come with conditions, with requirements of therapy, of genuine work, of demonstration of real change. I don't know if he will ever claim it. Maybe yes, maybe no. Yesterday I received a letter. It had no return address, but I recognized the handwriting immediately. It was from Andrew. I held it in my hands for an hour before daring to open it. "Dad, I know I have no right to write to you. I know I broke something I will never be able to repair. But I need you to know that not a day goes by without me regretting what I did. Ashley and I separated. She went back to her family. I am living alone, working a normal job, paying rent like anyone else. I started therapy. The therapist says I have a lot of work to do, that I don't only need to repair what I did to you, but understand why I became someone capable of that. I am not asking for forgiveness. Not yet. I am just telling you that I am trying to be better. If someday, maybe in many years, you think we can talk, I will be waiting. Your son, Andrew." I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my desk. Maybe someday I will answer. Maybe someday we can have a real conversation. But today is not that day. Today I am just a 56-year-old man who survived a murder attempt by his own son. a man who chose justice over revenge, a man who is learning to live again. And that, for now, is enough. If you are listening to this story and you identify with it in some way, if you are afraid of your own family, if you feel you cannot trust the people who should care for you, I want to tell you something. You are not alone. And you are not crazy for feeling this way. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most are the ones who share our blood, and it is okay to walk away. It is okay to protect yourself. It is okay to choose your own peace over blind family loyalty. True family is earned, not inherited. And if I could survive this, you can also survive whatever you are facing. Be careful. Trust your instincts. And remember that your life has value, no matter what others make you believe. Thanks for listening to my story, for accompanying me on this painful but necessary journey. Protect yourself, and never, never let anyone make you feel that your life is worth less than their convenience, because your life is valuable, always was, always will be, and that is something that no one, not even your own blood, has the right to take away from you.